had something put out. The first time was when there was an insurrection in heaven. They got put out. Satan was divinely separated from God's presence. He can no longer worship. He can no longer be a part. He just is an onlooker and outcast now. They're looking like, man, what you doing here? Jesus, you want us to put him back out? I mean, I know he's a brother and all, but still, you know, I mean, he's disassociated. He can't sit with us, as the kids are saying now.
Can't sit here.
You can't sit here. You can't sit with us. Now, here's where it gets funny. God, in his goodness, decides he wants to make a covering. He wants to make redemption. And he already, in his infinite power, had the plan in place. You want to know how I know? Because the Bible says he took their leaves, because their leaves was insufficient to cover them. Because what were they? They were shamed. They were shamed by their sins. They failed. They were ashamed. They wanted to run from God's presence. They didn't want to run into worship. They didn't want to run right into fellowship. Jesus, you know, we failed. I'm sorry, God. I didn't know what I was thinking. You know, this woman, she heard it like the serpent. You know, I ate. I'm sorry. They didn't do that. Their initial thing was to try to flee God's presence and hide. So God had to make a sheath. Now, in the New Testament in Revelation, in chapter 14, it says, and the lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That was the first slaying and the first creature to be set up as atonement for mankind. Because remember, the end is the beginning is the end. God took a little lamb out their garden and said, come on here, we got to cover these little people. Let's beat the lamb up and make proper clothing. Because blood had to be shed to be the remission of sin. Leaves couldn't cut it because there was no blood in the leaves. There was no life for life. The Bible says that the life resides inside the blood. So there has to be a life for a life. Now, because of the goodness of God and Jesus being obedient, there was a life for a life. Let's go back to Hebrews. So we no longer have to deal with the shame and the collateral damage of sin. 22 says, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water. Let us hold fast to the profession to our faith without wavering, for he is faithful to what he has promised. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. Now, the issue of blood is this. Life for life. So if you ask God to sprinkle you with some blood, sprinkle your conscience, purify your conscience with blood, purify your heart state with blood so you don't have to feel shame for whatever, you know, you've done or feel condemned about whatever's going on in your life. You ask him for the blood and then you have the ability to have the boldness to stand before him.